I can prove it point by point. I'm unafraid to speak the truth. This is just data-driven and experience-driven.
Plan to infiltrate President Trump's first campaign by using 2 undercover agents in a so-called honeypot operation?
Incredible.
Todd Pyro joins us with details. Todd.
This is big. Under the leadership of new FBI Director Kash Patel and Deputy Director Dan Bongino, the Bureau has reportedly launched an investigation into the agency's plan to infiltrate President Trump's first campaign using 2 female undercover agents. The Washington Times reporting that the program was launched in 2015 by then FBI Director James Comey. The honeypot scheme was actually kept off the books, and according to a whistleblower, Comey's investigation was separate from Crossfire Hurricane. You, of course, know that as the FBI's operation that looked into allegations Trump's campaign colluded with Russia. A whistleblower disclosure says, quote, the case had no predicated foundation, so Comey personally directed the investigation without creating an official case file in Sentinel or any other FBI system. The FBI has multiple methods of protecting highly sensitive investigations, so Comey did not have a legitimate reason not to officially create an official investigation file or have a file number. FBI leaders are reportedly looking for those once undercover agents who are said to have infiltrated the Trump campaign at high levels. Back over to you.
This story is insane. Thank you so much, Todd. The whistleblower said that Comey personally directed it and using 2 female undercover agents as honeypots. They say it usually refers to an undercover operative who feigns sexual or romantic interest to obtain information on a target. So were these honeypots targeting Donald Trump? Were they targeting people on his team? Were they women that we were seeing on air all the time traveling with him?
If this is true, he's a dirty cop. And this is the same thing that is alleged that they did the same thing to Martin Luther King Jr. as well and recorded him to use as leverage. So the FBI, which was supposed to have reformed if this report is true, apparently never reformed at all.
Yeah, J. Edgar Hoover moved. James Comey always said he was above it all. And we know, soon we're going to find out if that indeed was he above it all. Was he just tall, or is he just, was he actually got all dirty in this? This is going to be huge.
It's dirty cop. That's a harsh, that cuts to the bone when you're in law enforcement. A dirty cop. Welcome to Truth with J.J. Carrell. These are every single day. Every single day. It's mind-blowing what we learn. What is, not so much what we learn, it's what's uncovered, right? It's just, it's shocking. To the point that, not shocking from, I can't believe those people are that dirty, that evil. It's shocking to the depth of it. I think maybe that's what shocks me, is it just, where's the bottom? He tried to honeypot a U.S. president, a candidate and then president, and then lied about everything, knowingly lied about it all. What is Kash Patel? He opened a new file or a jacket on this, a case. What is he and Dan Bongino going to uncover? And then Dan Bongino, I will put a month's salary, will go right into James Comey and arrest him. Now, I want to see that. And what I really want to see, I want to see James Comey resist. I don't want him to be allowed to come into the FBI headquarters and turn himself in. No, I want a 6 a.m. SWAT team to kick his door and off the hinges. And I want all of his house to be ransacked. And I want him perp walked out. That's what I want. Because he allowed this to happen. He allowed these crimes to continue. He allowed Hillary Clinton, a massive criminal, just to walk free. What else did those people do in the FBI? I just saw today Linda McMahon who is the Secretary of Department of Education, begin the demolition of the Department of Education. I want Kash Patel. This is what I really want Kash Patel and Dan Bongino to do, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is what they're going to do. Utilize everything they can, manpower-wise, in the FBI to arrest everyone that has been a traitor and is a bad cop, and then demolish the FBI. The FBI should be an intel clearinghouse. That's it, where all the states call, and they are non-law enforcement, non-carrying, weapon-carrying intel analyst. That's it. You are a clearinghouse now, FBI. In fact, we're going to take the FBI, the Hoover Building, and we're going to turn it into a museum. And we are then going to take the FBI and put it in Kansas City, Des Moines, Iowa, Lincoln, Nebraska, somewhere out from the touches and the claws of the deep state, and you will become just a central clearinghouse. That's it. We are looking at the most interesting times in American history. We are seeing our nation actually be broken down and rebuilt in real time. Donald Trump is just crushing it. He has all his lieutenants in place, and now they're going to begin the demolishing. And we need it. We need it broken down. Our federal government is corrupt to the core. If you have watched me at all, have seen any of my movies, read any of my books, or been on Worldview 2 for these last 3 months that I've had my own show, and thank goodness that Brandon House allows me to be on his channel, and I love being on it, then you know how the disdain I have for our federal government. Our country is great. Our federal government has made us less than great. They have brought us to our knees to now that we are the problem in the world. America is. But it's changing. Thank God. God has given us a reprieve. If you do not think God did not hear all of those Americans on their knees begging him for mercy, begging him for one more chance, give us some more time, we'll correct it. But I know God is sitting up there and he's looking at his stopwatch as if he needs a stopwatch. That's how linear I think. But I see him, the being, the great being, looking at his watch and just saying, you're not doing enough. The clock's ticking. You're still raping my children. You're still killing my children in the womb. The clock's ticking. Tick, tick, tick. What are you going to do? And all the people that don't believe in God, that's fine. Move along. Move along. Go ahead, live in your fantasy land. But the God that we all know, that same God that just destroyed complete civilizations, wiped off the map through flood, fire, everything you can imagine. You don't think he's going to do that to us if we don't correct our problems, our ills, our sins, our evilness? Yeah, he will. So much to cover, Logan. I got a whole list. I got a great guest coming up in 10 minutes, a Jay Sixer, incredible life story. I want to spend 15 minutes with him. I could spend 3 hours, and I probably will at a later date, but I want to just get him on our show so you can see this gentleman's story. Fascinating. But I have a new sponsor that I want to talk. And then maybe let me start with this with my new sponsor. Is I'm cultivating the companies or the products that I want to promote. Everything I promote, I believe in. But everything has to be around the betterment of your life, health, nutrition, spirituality, everything. I want that because that's how I live my life. And I just want to promote what I love and believe in. So I am excited to say that my new sponsor is Bella Grace. If any of you guys cross over and watch Brandon House talks about this with his wife, Melissa, all the time. They talk to me about it, and I talk to Bella Grace, and we align perfectly, and I believe in what their product is. So Bella Grace, you can go to shopbellagrace.com/truth. shopbellagrace.com/truth. I'm going to tell you the two products I ordered. I ordered them this morning. They should be here in 3 to 5 days. Brandon House just went on and on and on and on. And I love Brandon House, but his wife is the one that pushes it over the top. And she goes, the elixir. You have to do the elixir because it has collagen in it. Instead of all the other collagens that you either sweat out or your body gets rid of it, they break down and they can go inside the brain membrane. And that collagen is our lifeblood. So I'm like, okay, Brandon House showing me pictures before and after, how thick his hair is. My hair is thick. I'll go for thicker. I want it all. So I get the elixir and the other one, and this is very important, maybe not for you, but for me, it's a huge deal, is the restorative sleep gummies. You see it right there. It's the purple one. The reason why that's important to me is I did midnight shifts in the United States Border Patrol for 8 years. And then the majority of the rest of the time, I would say the other probably the other 14 years, I did swing shift. And swing shift would be from 2 p.m. to midnight or 4 p.m. to 2 or 3 in the morning. Midnights was at 10 p.m. to 8 in the morning. We worked 10-hour shifts. And my sleep was erratic. I know that I lost years of my life because I would go 2-3 days with 3, 5, 10 hours sleep max in a 3-hour day. And then I began to use melatonin. Then my body got used to it. And then the artificial, and it just became a nightmare. I would have loved to be able to pop a gummy in and go to sleep and have no residual impact. That's the key. No residual waking up and going, my gosh, I feel like I didn't sleep at all, or I'm drowsy, I'm drugged. No, you don't feel that. So I can't wait to get it. I tried that when I was in Memphis this past weekend. Worked absolutely. So I'm ready to get my own. I'm ready for my hair to get thicker, my nails to get thicker, my skin to be better, because this is proven. 81 peer review articles, tons and tons of testimonials, and it's all natural. We're having the doctor on tomorrow. Dr. Lucky. What a great name for a doctor. Don't you want to go to, hey, who's your new doctor? I don't know. Let me see. Oh, it's Dr. Lucky. Oh, I hit the jackpot. So tomorrow, Dr. Lucky, who is from Bella Grace, will be on, and we're going to I want to have a very, very specific discussion just on sleep and sleep deprivation, because that is one of his specialties. So I can't wait to hear from him. All right. I think we're ready for our guest. Logan, we have Shane trying to call right now. Well, while we're waiting for that, I want to just talk about, while we do that, patriotsmade.com, patriotsmade.com/JJ. We talk about this, just same thing with Bella Grace. You want to purchase things you need from patriotic, God-fearing, American-loving companies. Built in America, created in America, shipped in America. Everything stays here with American workers. Go to patriotsmade.com/JJ, and then you get brought into an ability to buy American-made products that are great for Americans. Built by Americans, for Americans, better than the products that you're getting in big box stores, and it's less expensive. Go to patriotsmade.com/JJ. I'm going to talk to you. I think we're waiting on Shane Jenkins to come in, but I'm going to give you just a little background on him as we try to call. A J6er, I don't want to say career, but he has been in prison an incredible amount of his time on earth. And he found God, and he changed his ways. And he is in the ministry of the prison ministry now, and his other passion is prison reform. And I'm big on that. I think it should be a very bad place in the terms of, you commit a crime, it's not, you're not going to the Bahamas, you're going to go to prison. But it can't be inhumane. There has to be some restorative justice now. And I know Shane will back me on this. There are people that should be in prison and they should never come out. We're not talking about them. We're talking about people that serve their time. And I am huge on this, even as a law enforcement officer. You serve your time. When you come out of prison, the slate is clean. You served it. It's done. And I'll tell you, I interviewed someone named Tyrone Mohammed in my documentary, This is Treason. Did 21 years in prison for murdered another gang member. Came out, and he's totally changed man. Incredible pillar of his society community now, trying to rectify the wrongs he did. And he said to me something that really kind of shook me up from maybe my law enforcement background. And he said, listen, I didn't convict me and give me a sentence of 21 years. The jury of my peers and the judge, through the justice system, gave me 21 years. So when I did the 21 years, I should come out a whole citizen with all my rights attached to me. my voting rights, my gun, my ability to have a firearm for protection. He goes, of course, the far hard criminals know. But if I've proven myself, I did my time, I want to have all my rights restored. And I don't have a real big argument against that. I really don't. If we want someone to come back to society and be a productive member, and not only a productive member, but just be a part of the community in a great way, then I can't keep punishing that person. It's like being a parent. I can't keep punishing my son for stealing cookies. Every day I wake up, you suck, son. You did this. You're going to hell. And no, that makes no sense. Let's do a restorative justice, meaning, hey, go to your room for an hour. You lied to me, or I'm taking away your phone. I'm taking away your video game, whatever it is, and then we move on. Same thing with justice. Exactly same thing. So let's bring Shane Jenkins in. How you doing, sir?
Good, much better as of late.
Good. Well, here, I just gave a brief intro while we were waiting for you to come in. Could you just introduce yourself to my audience? I'm having some background. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you just fine. It's kind of loud.
All right.
I'm at NRB, so there's a lot of conversations going on around.
That's what I'm probably hearing. No problem.
No,
Can you give us a little introduction of who you are and what your life has been and how it came to be at this point right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up what I thought was a normal life. I went to a private school called All Saints Episcopal School in West Fort Worth. Everything was pretty normal up till the age of 12 or 13, and I found out I was adopted. I had an argument with my sister. She told my mom, if you don't tell him, I'm going to tell him. And I was looking at her like, tell me what? And then later that night, my mom pulled me to the side and explained to me that I was adopted. And so that was something as a 12 or 13-year-old little boy I was not prepared to deal with psychologically, because those are your formative years of your psyche, really, when you come to understand your identity and who you are. And so I felt a number of things in that moment. I felt betrayed by my adopted family. I felt like the life that I had been living, who Shane Jenkins, who I thought he was a lie. I felt betrayed by them by allowing me to believe that lie. And then on the other hand, I looked at my biological mother, and I didn't understand how she could just throw me away like that. I looked at the little baby pictures of me with red hair, blue eyes, and freckle face, and I just thought, man, I'm a cute kid. And I didn't understand how she could just throw me away like that, or what I perceived was just throwing me away like that. So I went and walked with that statement in my life for a long time, that you're just a piece of trash to throw away. And that's a bad place for a young man, a very immature young man to be. And so I took a turn down the bad road in that part of my life, and I started breaking the law. Kind of withdrew from activities at school and sports and stuff like that. Began breaking small crimes, breaking and entering, stuff like that, breaking into cars at school, running with the bad crowd, drinking and using drugs somewhat. Eventually, it led to more serious things. By the age of 15, I was caught up in aggravated robbery. By the age of 16, I watched my friends kill a guy and shoot two more people while I was in the car with them. I didn't actually do any shooting, but I was sentenced under the law of parties in the state of Texas, which you're just as guilty as the guy shooting if you're in the car with him, right? And so I got sentenced to 3 years in juvenile prison. I did all 3 years, but I kind of got my life back on track, got my GED, my high school diploma, became a certified welder, got back involved in sports and all that while I was in there. And then was out when I was 19, went to the University of North Texas, went from prison to full freedom, and all these other kids that were going to college and getting out of their parents' house for the first time. And I was not prepared for all that freedom. And so I ended up dropping out of school, moving back home to my mom's. And she had remarried. My adopted dad died when I was about 16, but she was remarrying, and she married this guy who was a Vietnam War hero, who was a drug addict and alcoholic. He was a really good guy when he was sober, but whenever he drank, he became a very violent and completely different person. And so he went to jail twice for beating my mom. I was working so much that I wasn't there for those events. I was working like Home Depot or Laidlaw, throwing trash during the day and then valeting cars at night. And so when I found out about that, I confronted him. We had a bunch of issues, and then they steadily escalated. He had pulled a gun on me before. He pulled a gun on me, and I pointed one at him, and then it led up to where he told me one night that he was going to kill me And later that night, I heard my mom and him wrestling upstairs, and I heard her scream like I heard a thump on the floor from the second story. And he had already threatened to kill me that night, so I ran to the front closet, got a gun, and ran upstairs. And when I got up to the door, I could hear my mom screaming and him fighting. And I kicked the door in. And when I did, he was laying in bed with a shotgun, and he shot and blew the top of the door frame off right just above my head and missed me by about 6 inches. The barrel of that shotgun looked like it was about that big, and the flame shot out of it. I ran. I don't think I touched the stair the whole way down to the kitchen telephone, and I called 911. And I was on the phone with 911, and I told them that he had shot at me, tried to kill me, that I had a gun. And my mom came down there and stood next to me, and she was like, "Please don't call the cops. You know, he was just trying to scare you." And so I was like, "Are you crazy? Like, what is going through your mind right now?" And then here he comes up the top of those stairs and comes down the stairs with the shotgun. And it's about 10 feet from me, and I jump up from behind the counter and start shooting. And I shoot 13 times through a second story support, and it's hit him 11 out of 13 times. And long story short, he ends up dying on the way to the hospital. So here I am, the very young man, had an identity crisis. I started to create this persona of what I thought a man was, which for an immature little boy was like the Goodfellas or Scarface or some of these guys that are feared and respected like in the wrong way, And so I lived that out, and then my friends killed some people in front of me. I was in the car that went to jail for that, and here I'm 20 years old. Now I've taken a life with my own hands. It was just something that I was not able to handle, killing somebody that I had lived with for a year. And part of me was like, he got what he deserved, but the other part of me was like, this was your stepdad. He was a war hero. He was somebody's dad, somebody's son, and all these things. And so I had this war in my spirit, and I didn't want to feel that war anymore. So I turned to drugs and alcohol really heavily. And from that point, it was really a matter of a year or two, and I went to prison as an adult, and then got out without a couple of years, went back to prison, and then was out a few years, and then my mom passed away, and so I was right back in prison again. That third trip to prison in 2016, well, prior to that, I got denied parole 3 times, back to back to back. Every year they were like, "Nope, we're not letting you out. Nope, we're not letting you out." So that third year, I was like, I've got to do something different to get out of here. And so I heard about this program you could go through. It's called the Prison Fellowship Program. Oddly enough, it has a political tie to it, but Chuck Colson, the axeman for Richard Nixon for Watergate, actually started this program. He took the fall for Nixon at Watergate, went to prison. Before he went to prison, he had an encounter with Jesus Christ. When he was getting out, the guys in prison told him, "Chuck, don't forget about us, man." And he got out, and when he did, he went and used all his political connections and started this program called the Prison Fellowship. And so I signed up for this program, not knowing Jesus Christ, not knowing anything. I signed up for it, got accepted to it, get to the program. I'm not even there a whole month. And this ministry called Charm Prison Ministry, I'm actually wearing one of their bracelets right now. But they came in and played basketball, and I've been playing basketball my whole life. I'm pretty tall. And so the guys wanted me to play with them. This ministry comes in, and they bring guys that are like 6'9", 6'6", these monster dudes. And they come in there and they just mop the floor with us in there. And so, but after that, we go to the chapel. They bring brisket and gumbo. And man, I just remember seeing these women in the chapel, these volunteers. And, we retired from basketball. And then I remember looking at these women, and they're standing in there serving food inside of this prison. And they just had this joy and this love and like this glow coming from them. And I really didn't understand what it was. And then I'm like looking at them, I'm like, you guys are in prison. I absolutely hate it here. I'm alone. I'm miserable. I've lost everybody that I care about. I've made a disaster of my life. It's just been a Category 5 hurricane path of destruction. That was my life. Here y'all are smiling and happy and just thankful to be here with somebody like me. And I just felt like about that big. And I remember I went and got my food, and I just sat down, and something inside of me broke. And looking back on it, I know that Jesus Christ was there standing with me, and he called me son. He told me never leave me nor forsake me. And then he told me there's no guilt or shame in Jesus Christ. And so I didn't have to carry that guilt and shame I felt about killing my stepdad. He gave me my position and my identity, calling me son. And I never had to worry about him abandoning me or throwing me away, because he said he'd never leave me nor forsake me. So they offered up the gospel after that. After that, they did an altar call, and I stood up and said I want to follow Jesus Christ for the rest of my life, and I really haven't looked back since. I got out of prison in 2018, became a part of that ministry I mentioned, Charm Prison Ministry. We got on staff. And from that foundation in Christ, I really started to appreciate the value of life. So I started to read the scripture about how it said, I knew you before I laid the pillars of the earth. I knew you in your mother's womb. I know the amount of hairs on your head, or lack of hairs on your head in some people's cases. But, but so that's where my politics sprang from, was my foundation in the Bible and Jesus Christ. And so that's really kind of what led me to January 6th. In 2016, I got saved, and I started watching President Trump be persecuted and them go after him. And I just, something never really sat right with me, because they could show what they said he did or said, whether it was the Charlottesville hoax or whatever it was, and I could watch what they presented to the mainstream media, what they presented. And I'm like, that's not what he said. That's not what he meant. And I never really bought into it. And so then I started to just kind of watch it, and it was like the same. I don't know if you've ever seen the screen where they put all the different newscasters all quoting from the same
Yep.
script. And that's that Mockingbird media. And I was like, I caught that. And I was like, something is going on here. So got out of prison, got my life back on track. Jesus put me in a place where I needed to be. Fast forward a little bit, 2019, got off parole. It was clear, no probation, no parole or anything. First time in my life that I had ever wanted to vote in an election or been able to because of my legal situation. And I voted in the 2020 election early in Texas. Then I watched the election November 3rd, 2020, and I watched Trump leading the whole night and Biden chasing him the whole night. And then I went to bed at like 10:30, 11, and I was like, we got this, it's in the bag, we're good. And then I wake up the next day, and bam, Biden won allegedly. And so that's really what led me to start following politics. And then President Trump sent out that tweet in December, and it said, come to DC, join the Stop the Steal rally, will be wild, in all caps. And I was like, will be wild? What does he mean? And so I felt like January 6th was the date of the rally. If they didn't do something to overturn the election, President Trump was going to be out January 20th. And I just felt like I wanted to see him give a speech while he was in office. I had never been to DC, never been to a rally, never been to a Trump rally. And so I made my way to DC, and that's, the rest is history, as they say.
And you went to prison in the gulags, and you went into federal prison. Now tell the audience, was that experience of what you drove to want to do prison reform? And if it was, what was it about the federal system that made you feel that way?
Yeah, so the ministry that brought the basketball game and the gumbo and all that brisket stuff to us, I'm a part of that, and I still go into prisons in the state of Texas and share the gospel. So I've had a passion for people in prison, right? And then going into this situation for January 6th, being in the DC jail, being denied haircuts for a year, being denied visitation for 2 years, being denied religious services for 2 years, watching these men who were law enforcement, prison guards, Marines, Army Rangers, Special Forces, people who were civilians, never been in trouble a day in their life, gets treated the way they were being treated, not only by the court system but these jails, that I was just blown away that they could do this to American citizens. So my perspective by the prisons in the state of Texas gave me a good bar, to say, okay, this is because the guys always wanted to complain, right? Okay, the food is bad. I'm like, look, the food is bad in every jail or prison for the most part. There's exceptions, but for the most part. So let's focus on the things that are important: visitation, religious service, stuff like that. So that was in the DC jail. And then when I got transferred to the Federal Bureau of Prisons, I was absolutely blown away by the amount of drugs and the amount of violence inmate on inmate, by the amount of violence guard on inmate. And I started thinking about, I had already just came up with the vision for Standing the Gap while I was in the DC jail, mainly to help the January 6th men. But I started to think okay, January 6th is right now we have some dire needs for the January 6th men and their families. But let's say 6 months or a year from now, they're going to be situated, right? So what is the next move for the foundation? So that's when I began to think look, I thought about the story I told you about Chuck Colson, and I'm like, January 6th has given me a platform, right? And I'm going to use that platform that the devil meant to use to destroy me, and I'm going to use it to glorify God and make a positive kingdom impact on the world. And so I want to take this platform And I want to reach back to these people in prison, because I think about like the war zone that these people are living in federal prison. These guys stabbing each other, doing drugs. I saw 2 people die while I was in there in 14 months in federal prison. Um, and I just am like, so these guys are going through this every day for years at a time. And then you release these guys back out into society. And what do we expect from these men? Do we expect the recidivism rate to continue to climb? Like, do we expect them to be successful when they've been in here doing drugs, selling drugs, beating each other up, stabbing each other, throwing bull and magic shave on each other, or whatever it is they're doing, fighting the guards or getting beat by the guards or whatever? Um, that's not there. These guys are going to move in next door to me, next door to you, next door to anybody watching this, and their kids are going to go to school with our kids. And so it behooves us as a society to reach back, I believe, and start to invest in these people and see the humanity in them. The thing about the Republican Party is they like to say, oh, we're Christians or we're Catholic or this or whatever. But it talks about in the Bible, Jesus said, you came to see me in prison. And his apostles were like, we didn't come to see you in prison, Jesus. And he says, no, you didn't. But if you did it unto the least of these, you did it unto me. And so what he's saying is, don't forget about the prisoner. It says that in the Bible. Don't forget the prisoner. And so we need to hold these Republicans' feet to the fire so we can change these, not only the amount of time these people are getting, 25, 30 years for a phone call, but for changing the policies within the BOP about how these guys are treated. We've got to come up with a new way to combat the drug smuggling and stuff like that in prison, and the way they allow these gangs to run these prisons. It absolutely blows my mind that I've seen guards utilize the gangs to get rid of inmates that are problematic to the guards' agendas. And so there just has got to be some cleaning out of the BOP and some changes in policy, maybe in Congress through legislation to change some of the laws for the sentencing guidelines and stuff like that. But we're America. We're supposed to be the greatest country in the world. We need to be leading this fight in the prison system and lowering the recidivism rate, because in the end, this protects me and it protects you and your family and everybody out here in society. So, I like to say this stupid slogan, but we need to make prison great again. And I know it sounds dumb, but I think that's something that's common sense that's better for everybody.
No, I agree. I think that there's a line from all the destructive behavior that has been committed against people that create people that commit crimes, and then when we say this is the restorative justice, meaning we're going to reform, they go to college. The prison's a college where they learn to become better criminals, and then they come out, and then we just do this vicious cycle, and it's wrong. It's wrong. Now, what I would like to ask you before I leave is, this is many people that I interview. I know that this is not a 15-minute conversation. This is an hour and a half, 2 hours. I would like to have you come back we have a thing called The Vault. We do a long form interview and discussions, mainly just a conversation. So I'd like to have you back on that and try to schedule a time where you have a good piece of time where we could sit down and really go through your life, how you feel God's pulled you to this direction, and what you want to use, really in-depth detail about how you want to use your life to make the world better. Would you do that?
Absolutely, JJ. You know I do. All you got to do, you got my number. Reach out to me anytime you need me. I would be happy to sit down and discuss anything with you like.
I would love to, and I will send you an invitation later tonight. Now, can you tell us, do you have any social media? Do you have the company you work for? Please promote away, my friend, because what you're doing is God's work.
Yes, sir. My personal Twitter is the real J6 Shane. That's Twitter. And then if you want to find me on Instagram, it's the real J6_US. But most importantly, the website for the foundation is standinthegap.foundation. And that's where you can go see the programs we're doing to help the Jan Sixers, and then how we're going to move forward with justice reform. If you want to go get T-shirts and gear and stickers and yard signs and stuff like that, go to therealj6.com. By all means, please pray for us. And if you can help us out, throw us a few dollars. You'll give us the power and the resources to fight this fight for all of us out here in society.
That's great. Thank you. We'll put those links up. I see it right now. Stand in the Gap. That is the great Sarah Maccabee as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. We spoke to her. She's an incredible woman, and she has her husband back from January 6th. So I'm very excited about that. Shane, thank you so much for coming with us. We are going to have a long form discussion with you in the very near future. Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Absolutely. God bless you.
God bless you. Bye-bye. It's just one. what? Let me just put it this way. You go to the movies. Go right now and click on AMC or whatever theater and see what's playing. It's all of this make-believe garbage, fantasy, space stuff. And when we have story after story after story that is riveting in real life, we don't need fantasy. Reality dominates the insanity of fantasy. We have so much to talk about here on Earth, so many movies, so many incredible life stories. I mean, I don't know if you can just listen to that and go, yeah, I'm okay. I don't need to hear him anymore. I think if you're like me, you're like, I need to hear a lot more from him. I want to hear a lot more from him. So Logan, let's go ahead and schedule him for the vault. We're doing about 1 to 2 vault interviews a week now. I mean, we went from 1 a month to now we're like 2 a week. I got Logan just rolling, him and Caleb. They're important. These discussions are important. Prison reform is important. You're not going to find anyone more staunch about people going to jail that have commit crimes. They have to do the time. They have to. But you don't go to prison and sell drugs. You don't go to prison and stab each other. You're my responsibility. You're the government's responsibility. If that means locking down in individual cells and then you get your free time, however you do that, so there's safety, then that's how it's got to be. Or if there are people that are really bad, then there's segregation cells. This is where you go. Bye. But if you look at the totality of what's happening in our judicial system, even someone that is very adamant that criminals need to go to jail for the specific amount of time for their crimes, and it's got to be hard, meaning it's not going to be going to the beach, but you're not going to get stabbed either. We can all look and say, what we're doing is not working. It's just not working. Things have to change. Let me give you an idea about the vault. This is a gentleman named Alfredo Luna. We did a long discussion with him. Decorated war veteran, decorated police officer in California. Gets arrested by the FBI for January 6th. Was he in January 6th? No, he wasn't. Why did he go to jail if he wasn't in January 6th? Because he posted bad posts, Twitter posts. What were those Twitter posts? They were reposts. Or he said, we need to be ready to fight. This is a battle for America. Same things I say. We're in a war for the soul of America. And the FBI comes and arrests him as if he was in the movie Minority Report on the probability that he would commit crimes in the future. A decorated law enforcement officer going to commit crimes in the future. We live in alternative times. Let's take a clip of this interview with Alfredo.
As far as the war, everybody kind of knows that part, but 2 things that I want to talk about from my time in the Marine Corps was the first time in war, brother, that I was like, my ticket's going to get punched. You know, I was like 21 years old at the time, or about to turn 21. And we're in the LAVs, and we start taking artillery fire from the enemy. And they're walking it onto us. And for those that don't know, when artillery is hitting, you don't punch through, because you can actually end up running into where they're deploying, the artillery. So we dismounted from the vehicles. There were some ditches right there. I go into the side of the ditch with my unit, our platoon, and it stunk, man. It stunk. But I remember the last volley of artillery we took from the enemy was so close on the other side of the street that you could actually feel the dirt and debris start to land on us. And I remember thinking, this is how I'm gonna die? Like I don't even get to fight the MFer that's gonna kill me. Like I don't even get, like, this is it. Like this is why you brought me here. This is how. And I took off my Kevlar, and in my Kevlar at the time was my ex-wife, the high school sweetheart. and a picture of my two daughters, Lily and Anastea. Lily at the time was 3, Anastea was 2, and there was the baby in the oven, Annika. And I remember looking on this like, Annika's never even going to get to meet me. And these other 2 girls, I remember thinking, they're so small, will they remember me? And at that time, I told God, man, I said, just if you can get me out of this, I won't waste my life. I promise I won't waste it, and I promise that I'll make a difference with what you give me left. And nothing else mattered, man. Not rims, not stereo, not how much money was in my bank account. It was just time. Like, that's all I cared about, man, was just time.
Just have time. I was just texting Shane as we were going through that. But he's right. That's one of my favorite clips, and Logan pulled it up. He's right. It's time. But those are the stories. That man right there that was talking, that was the man the FBI said, yep, we're going to violate all your rights and we're going to arrest you for a crime that you are going to commit in the future. You can't make this stuff up. You just can't. It's insane. This is one way you can support Worldview Tube, and that is by going to worldviewtube.com/JJ, and that takes you right to the vault. He has everything in the vault, all the stuff on Worldview Tube, but more specifically, it allows you to see all of our interviews. January 6th, wife, Sarah Maccabee, Dr. Juliet Engel, MK Ultra survivor and sex magic survivor, Operation Gladio with the retired Colonel Roxanne Towner Watkins. The next one we're going to drop, Doug Argo talking, he and I having this great conversation about masculinity, religion, God, the role of the father, the role of the man in society. I love it. I love the vault. I love these discussions. I'm going to have one with Shane. This one with Alfredo drops tomorrow. And we're going to drop one a week. We're going to have like 2 or 3 in the bank, and we're going to drop it once a week. We're going to have these. And I just got a call from Dr. Juliet Engel. Congress has released thousands of pages of MK Ultra, validating everything that she said and has been saying for years. And we're going to have her back on for another discussion of what's going on. She's brilliant lady. Brilliant lady. Logan, before we go on, can we just show my favorite commercial, the Pet Club 24/7? Pet Club 247. You go to Truth with JJ Carrell. Truth with JJ Carrell. Excuse me, Truth with JJ. I'm throwing my name in there. Truthwithjj247.com. It's for your pets, horses, and humans. I love it. And what it is a specialized mushroom that they have been able to cultivate, put into capsule form, pet lotions, everything. And again, made in America, by Americans, for Americans. Christian company, Christian owners, God-fearing, patriotic people. Love them. My little dog Cinnamon does her mojos. I have my balm, my lotion I use, and then I take it. I always have this right here. I take it right before I go on. It's my capsule form of the mushroom that helps my immune system. Love it. Take it every day. Go ahead and play. It's my favorite commercial just because of the ending of all things. I love it. And why I love it, I love that gentleman with his son, because I think of my little dude that's now 13 with a dirty mustache and gives me the elbow every single time I try to hug and kiss him. It's like I got to sneak up behind him like a ninja and bear hug him so he can't move, so I don't get the elbow. Oh, I miss those days. Logan, I think we got 10 minutes. This day is going by fast, but don't you think that I don't remember what day it is this week. It is Wednesday, and that is Libs of TikTok Wednesday. Before we get into the love connection, because that is important, I want to show you this clip of Jake Tapper. Why am I showing you a clip of Jake Tapper? Well, this is about a year old, maybe even longer. I think it might be at the election, Trump and Biden, and he's reaming Laura Trump that she's so self-righteous for talking about the mental decline of Biden. How dare you talk that? Well, guess what Jake Tapper has out right now? An incredible book talking about how the media colluded to hide Joe Biden's mental deficiencies. You can't make this stuff up. But I want to point out the hypocrisy. Go ahead and play this guy. He is such a loser.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable
You have
to watch somebody on stage search for
that's so amazing. It's so amazing to me
and try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were
stuttering,
mocking his stutter.
Yeah,
I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses diagnosing politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar, and I'm sure it offends you. Your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing to say.
I'm not diagnosing him. What I'm saying, Jake,
you just talked about a cognitive decline.
That Joe Biden
I have one last question for you, Laura. You can't
times on stage, and it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel sorry for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it. I'm sure
he's disgusting. They're all hypocrites and liars. Let's go from that guy to a Colorado rep where she likes to talk. It's a short video. You can't make this up. That babies begin to understand their gender identity, not at 5, not at 2, not at 1. No, inside the womb in the second trimester. We have mental patients that are leading our country. Can you believe this? Watch this.
And we know even from fetal development perspective that sex is defined in the first trimester of pregnancy, whereas the beginnings of the sense of gender identity start in the second trimester of pregnancy. So certainly often these two things match up, but often they don't.
No, you're a mental patient. You're so grotesquely stupid and evil. This is what we left. This is where we were hurtling to. If we didn't elect Donald Trump, this is what the problem would be, times a million. Libs of TikTok. I love Libs of TikTok Wednesday, but at the same time, it just infuriates me. You can't imagine how much of this crap I go through just to pick like 5 or 6 links out. We live in an insane world. Let's go to Trump hitting back at a reporter, because this shows you 2 things. They are sick in the head, and Donald Trump is talking to them just with the same kind of contempt that every one of us needs to speak to these animals about.
Mr. President, what do you say to people who worry that targeting an individual firm or individuals who aren't Jack Smith?
Excuse me, I've been targeted for 4 years, longer than that. So you don't tell me about targeting. I was the target of corrupt politicians for 4 years, and then 4 years after that. So don't talk to me about targeting.
That's right. Don't talk to me about targeting. Don't talk to me about, the poor people and I what he was doing was he just removed the intel security access to a certain law firm because they went after Trump and weaponized law enforcement. He removed it. Incredible. Absolutely incredible statement. We live in the most insane times. This next Libs of TikTok. These are women that go into the wilderness and scream because they are so angry about Trump and conservatives and their body and their ability to kill babies. They have to go out and scream. Watch these lunatics. Whoa. The first thing I thought when I saw that, swear to you, I said, please, God, don't let my son ever meet any one of those women and fall in love with them. Please, please, please. Please don't let that happen. Please. Holy cow. You can't make that up. You can't make that up. Let's go to the next one. I want you to see the evil that we have created. And I want you to think about if this was your daughter. Go ahead and play this, please.
Hi, my name is Ains. I use he, him pronouns, and this is my first day on testosterone. Today is my 4th week on T. So even though I'm like 7.5 weeks on T, it's been 11 weeks on T.
And this is my 4th month on testosterone. I'm gonna make a video of my T-shot routine. So I am 24 weeks on T. I have 2 things to say about testosterone right now. And for reference, I'm about to be 9 months on testosterone. Hey, it has now been 10 months on testosterone, and this is my voice. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the most recent changes that I've experienced, things that I feel like wait until a little bit later, like close to your 1-year mark, or at least that's how it's happened for me. So I've been getting a lot of like cystic acne, especially around here right now.
Logan, who's in there that
and it has more to do with like they're more ingrown hairs than it is cystic acne, because like my facial hair is like starting to come in, so like around my mustache and my beard I've been getting cystic acne. My hair had slowly gotten curlier, but in the last like month it's like really ramped up and gotten a lot curlier. Like I have like ringlets in the back and stuff like that, so that's really fun. My body hair has gotten significantly darker in the last month, which is like absolutely crazy. And my favorite thing is that my voice has like settled a bit, so like I can sing more and my voice doesn't crack as much. When I get excited, my voice doesn't crack. But yeah, those are all of my exciting tea updates. Have a wonderful day.
I don't even know what to say. The only thing I can say is pray for her. Oh. But what I want to do right now is a love connection. I know Reagan and Van are downstairs or upstairs in the production room. So Logan, who's producing this show, is going to make sure he sees these. These are 2. You just get 2 choices today, but I think they're good. Can you show the first one? This is a love connection. I feel as if Chuck Worley's looking down from heaven. He's going to shoot that love arrow. I believe that we're going to find love. Can you show this first one, please?
My ideal gender affirming care as like a trans non-binary person is kind of fucking weird. And the thing is that I love it. And I would love to get a single mastectomy. Yes, I want 1 boob. I want 1 boob and 1 no boob. And then I want to like wear some like strange clothes that I made myself that like cover the boob part, and then just let my other non-boob out in the open, so that people would just look at me like. And I want to take.
Yo, the nose ring, maybe do it for you, but the 1 boob, no boob, it's different. It's different. But hold on, don't choose something, Reagan, just willy-nilly. I want you to see this next one. Logan, can you just play 25 seconds of this? Because I think that might be all we can take in this love connection.
Welcome to Tuck Talk, where I attempt to talk about tucking in a social media friendly way.
Oh, God.
Let's get started. When it comes to keeping your tuck in place, you've got a lot of different choices, but I want you to be safe. This is not the way. We are not going to use any adhesive against our skin that is not meant to be against our skin. If you are going to tape your tuck, please use tape that is meant to go against your skin.
That's
and
good.
For God's sake, wrap the thing.
For God's sake, wrap the thing. Reagan and Van, it's a hard one this week. I know. One boob or no boob and how to tuck. If you don't think we need to pray, if you don't think we need to get on our knees every single day and pray for these people, but pray for the safety of us and our family and our president, then you are crazy as they are. We need to get on our knees and thank God for the opportunity we have to change America.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
Hello, I'm Brannon House. Melissa and I have been taking Bella Grace, this powerful elixir, since last fall, 2023. The results have been amazing. My hands would crack and bleed, deep cuts and cracks every winter for years. No matter what we did, we couldn't get them to stop cracking and bleeding. This year, I took Bella Grace, no cracking, no bleeding. My acid reflux, gone. Haven't had to take a Pepsid. My hair growth, the last 2 times I had my hair cut, the lady had to use thinning shears on my hair. That's amazing. We've also received incredible feedback from you, our listening audience, and the impact it's had for you. This is loaded with astaxanthin. That's a powerful antioxidant. Collagen, but top grade collagen. Studies show 95% of it is being absorbed in the body because of the way they develop it. Then we have something called cat's claw. That's an anti-inflammatory from a vine in Peru. It's the bark, and it's an anti-inflammatory. There are about 80 clinical trials on Bella Grace. Please get a subscription now and save. MelissaHouseBG.com.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
Hello, I'm Brannon House. Would you like to gain access to over 20 years of my radio shows, TV shows, my books? I've written 15 books, and most of those books are ebooks now, and we have conference DVDs, conferences where we filmed our conferences at the Ozarks, literally starting 20 years ago. It's all available in our archived vault. All you have to do is go to worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, and for a reasonable monthly fee, you gain access to over 20 years of Christian worldview programming, news, information, books, documentaries, and a powerful search engine. And folks, it's a great way not only to educate yourself, equip yourself, but it's a big way that you can help fund our continuation as a broadcast network. Please check it out. worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, and help us continue pushing out a Christian worldview.
On the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
Thank you for joining me today. I think you're going to be in for a special treat. A couple weeks ago, a good friend of mine, his name is Nate Bramson, was visiting here at Sunrise Christian Academy. And he was our guest speaker on a Sunday. We have an audience that's largely international students, a lot of high school students and their families are there. And I told the person, you know what, I think you're really going to enjoy this. And afterwards he said, I really did enjoy that. Nate Bramson is a very unique speaker and a very unique Bible teacher. Nate was actually born in Senegal, spent much of his life on the African continent, and then he began working with children when he was 22 years old. I think his method of Bible study is incredible. He's got a book, I'll tell you about it at the end of the show today. He's written some other books, really good ones, like one of them is What If Jesus Meant What He Said? Excellent book. Another one is Prosper, Enjoying the Intimacy with God. Well, we'll tell you how to do that. We'll also tell you how to get a hold of his podcast. I hope you'll listen to it. I hope you'll subscribe to it and enjoy the devotions that he puts out every week, at least one every week. I think you're really going to enjoy it. But here's what's so unique about this. Remember, a couple weeks ago, we actually did a series on Genesis 24. That was on Isaac getting a bride for his son. And we saw the application for us in terms of success, how God deals success to you by following his plan, by preparing, by following exactly what God says. We saw what a beautiful picture it was of Christ looking for a bride. These are all things that help us understand the scripture. Well, Nate's going to take that same passage and he's going to bring a unique message to you. I know you're going to enjoy it. He's fast-paced. He moves around a lot. But listen to this. Open your mind and your heart and your Bible and see what God has in store for you today. Thank you for joining me. Now here's Nate.
Good morning. Good morning. We're on. Beautiful. Well, it is good to be here with you. I'm excited about our few weeks together. Even when we are gone, by the way, Brady, my wife and kids will still be around, so they're here unbroken 5 weeks. A lot of you guys don't know me necessarily up front. Everyone in the back, I think, pretty much does. A couple of the prep team, we've met for over the last couple of years, but let me just briefly introduce myself. And also, in all fairness, for those of you that have never seen me, I have to put everybody on the same playing field, so you're not at a disadvantage. So I'll give you a warning in just a second. Warning I always give those that don't know me. But first off, we are really glad to be here. Yeah, we live over in Asia, but we've been kind of stranded on other places in the world for the last 6 months. No visa, so we're waiting to get back into Bangladesh, country we live in. Bangladesh is a crazy country if you didn't pay attention in any geography lesson in your past years. Let's just say maybe recently or maybe in many past years. Bangladesh is a country unlike any other. You think India is crowded, where Mark and I were a few weeks ago? Bangladesh is 3 times more crowded than India. 3 times, that's exactly right. I live in a city 8 miles by 8 miles. We got 8 million people. So that kind of gives you an idea. I'll do the calculation for Wichita next week and tell you just how crowded this land would be. But the point is, we live with lots of people. Most of them don't know about Jesus. Now, I gotta say something else to all of you, because when I preach the Word of God, the gospel, doesn't matter where I am in the world, I always get a lot of faces that look like they would rather be somewhere else, okay? That's just the way it is. And that's because I know something you don't know, and that's not arrogance, it's just the fact. Because the reality is, if I have really good news, why on earth would I hate you enough to not tell you? Answer it for me. There's either hatred or there's love. If there's love, I'm going to tell you. If I hate you, I won't. So good news, I love all of you. Now, whether or not you respond, that's up to you. And I'm not just talking about those that have never professed Jesus Christ to be their Savior and have eternal life. I'm telling those that know Him and you act like you're bored. That's even worse. Because I don't even know if you do know Him. Because how on earth can you be bored about the one that gave you purpose in life, created you in the first place, gave you what He gave you, and you don't even care about Him? That sounds like snobbery. There's a lot of snobbery in the church. You know that commandment in those 10 commandments? By the way, I think it is the worst interpreted commandment anywhere, and the church seems to have missed out on it. It's the 3rd commandment. If you're Catholic, it's the 2nd commandment. And it says this: do not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for he who takes his name in vain will not be held guiltless. If I say to most Christian audiences or people that have been around Christians, what is taking God's name in vain? They say, well, That's Hollywood. They do a good job of it. Actually, you know what? Hollywood does not take God's name in vain. You've never heard that statement in your life. Hollywood does not take God's name in vain. You know why? They haven't taken God's name. Let me explain to you. See, when my wife and I got married, something happened to my wife's last name. You can guess what it is, right? She became Abramson. She took my last name. She took my name. Are you getting it? Don't take God's name. All right, take it. So if we take a name, we're associating, we're identifying in a new way. So now my wife and I, according to the Bible, they say we're one. We have one name too. And that name is Bramson. Now, when she acts however she acts in the world, there is an identification with guess who? Me. And when I act, there's an identification with her because we bear the same name. So I'm talking to those of you that do believe in Jesus and you're acting like he's not that important. You're the ones taking God's name in vain, not the world. Because you've taken his name, and taking means to bear, to carry, and you're doing it in an unworthy manner. That's what vain is. You're saying, yeah, I belong to Jesus, and then you act like he's not that important. You don't know who he is. I'm telling you straight out in love, you don't. Because to believe in Jesus is not something, oh, I'll add a little Jesus to my life. He is life. That's what he says. So are you going to believe him for who he is or not? C.S. Lewis said it great. He says there's only three options. You either believe Jesus is a liar, fair, a lunatic, fair, because he said he was God, or Lord.